Okay, fine. So in last session, we had a discussion regarding that, like variables, and then after operators. In this session, we are going to have a discussion on errors. So there are some common errors we used to get, especially whenever you are performing a divide by zero. We'll get some errors. That errors we are going to understand, and there is a concept called a measure table in a tabular model. We are going to see these two things, and we are going to end up the DAX. And the next session onwards, we are going to continue with the like a security of a tabular SSAs or Power BI, whatever. So now here, like the first one is errors I mentioned. Errors is nothing but whenever you are performing divide by zero operation, you are going to get an error. Like whenever you are performing a division operation, you are going to get an error. Why you are going to perform a division operation? So there are some percentage of related calculations or some YOY, MOM or YOY change, YOY growth. Whenever you are performing a calculation, you are going to compare last year data with this year data and you are going to divide those values. Let's consider a scenario that last year you don't have a sales. How do you identify this year's sales? Whether how much growth that it has, how do you identify? If you have last month a sales as a, if you have like last month sales as a at 10 million, if you have 15 million, you can say that boss 5,000 millions are increased, or when compared to last month 50% is increased, you can say. But when last month is 0, when last month is 0, this month is 10, how much growth that I have, how much percentage that I have, what you are going to represent, whether the last year is 0 and last year or last month you have a 10 million, this month is 0, how much you are going to represent. So first of all, what is the formula of YOY growth or YOY change? Did Kalpana gone through it? Okay, fine. So leave about that calculations, but I am saying that whenever you are performing a division operation, you might be having a different considerations, like you will face with a different set of data out of that. So numerator, denominator, both are non-zeros. Sometimes numerator will be 0, sometimes denominator will be 0, sometimes both will be 0. In that context, so if I perform f underscore division, I am mentioning equal to x by y, I am representing that table 1 of x by table 1 of y. Here you are able to see different values. When 100 by 0 you are getting a 10, 100 by 10 you are getting a 10, that is fine. 0 by 100, 0 by 100, it is returning a value 0, and 100 by 0 it's a infinity, that you know. Even the infinity is an error I already showcased in the last sessions, right? So whenever you are dividing, like at the time of initial sessions, if you are if you are dividing anything by 0, that is going to be infinity returns, but that is a divide by 0 error will come. Here you are able to see infinity, but whenever you are representing there, it is going to be an error. Okay, if you want to test it, you can test it. Go to that report view and represent that f division value and filter down for a product name called C. Infinity, here it is showcasing infinity, but that will throw an error. So now for different values it is giving a different thing. Nan it is giving, and infinity is giving 0 and 100. But whenever you are performing a division operation, let's assume last year you don't have sales, this year you don't have a sales. What value you need to represent? You need to represent a 0. But it is giving a nan value. Like your business will ask you what is a nan. Okay, your visual representing a nan they will mention, or it will be through an error. So at the time of calculating these things, like you need to take care, like the formula, how you wanted to calculate, like when the numerator is 0, what you need to do. When the denominator is 0, what to do? You need to write an expression, proper expression. At that time it will not give the nan and infinity. So before continuing or before showcasing how it is going to useful, these things will be really useful whenever you are working with the time intelligence functions or any percentage related calculations where you are going to perform a division operation. And especially whenever you are considering a time intelligence function, sometimes the previous month or previous year data will not be available, or sometimes the last month data will be available, or this month data will not be available. Okay, this month up to now we don't have sales. At that time, how you are going to represent the data is we are going to define here. So now whenever you want to perform a x by y, first of all it might be ugly thing, like we are performing at a column level, fine, not at all a problem. So if you need to perform at x by y, what you need to do is you need to calculate the where x, if is blank of, so here what we are going to do, if is blank of x, if the numerator is 0, I want as 0. Okay, so if the numerator is 0, table 1 of x. If numerator is 0, I want to represent a 0. Next, if denominator is 0, if denominator is 0, table 1 of y, then I want to represent 1. Then after a by, like x by y. So whenever you are calculating like time intelligence functions, we are going to write like this. So I am calculating a new function. So is blank of, one second, here you need to verify is blank of y. If numerator is 0, we want to provide the complete thing is a 0. Even you divide the 0 with any value, that is a 0. Okay, so and whenever the denominator is 0, we are providing as 1. So here I am providing as a 1, otherwise x by y I am mentioning. What happened? So just a second. If is blank of x is a 0, one second. As first one is 0, it becomes a 0. The same expression for a y, if it is if it is not a 0, the control will come to here, which means a 100 will come to here, table 1 of y. If it is a blank, I want to give as a 1. So hundred by 1, it need to give 100. So let me copy it. There was some issue with that measure. I'm unable to identify. Just give me a second. Or let me write like this. If blank of var x equal to sum of x where y equals to sum of table 1 of y. Now we need to return something where y equal to this one. The next one is return if 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 is blank of a is numerator equal to 0, I want to return as a 0. Otherwise, if I am verifying again is blank of b, if denominator, sorry, it's a y I mentioned, then it's a 1. Otherwise, that a by y I am calculating. It is having some issue, I will check later. Okay, so we'll continue with the next topic. So the next one is the measure grid or measure table. So whenever you are creating a model as part of it, it might be a tabular or it might be a Power BI model. So as you know that you might load a multiple tables as part of it, and each table you are going to create a measures. Okay, so that is fine. But whenever you are handing over to someone, whenever you are delivering to someone, or whenever you are giving a presentation or giving a credit to someone, you might have a 20 tables which contains like 5 or 6 tables will be fact tables which contains a lot of measures inside it, lot of measures inside it. So at that time, whenever you are giving a KTR handover, if you have a measures are defined as part of a different tables, it will be very difficult to understand. And as I said in the first session or second session itself, boss, the measure is unique at a model level. So as you cannot duplicate a model, it must be unique, and it will be unique. So if you spread your measures into multiple tables, that will be very difficult to understand and organize also. Instead of doing that, what we are going to do in the live environment is we are going to bring all the measures together inside a single table. We used to call it as a measure table. Okay, it's a best practice. It is not mean that you must do like that. As the measures are unique, you can bring all the measures in a single table so that whatever the measure they require, they can see in a single place, unique place they can see. Otherwise, if they have a 25 table, then 25 tables they need to navigate and understand where the measures are there. So how you are going to create a measure table or how it is going to look like is nothing but, so let me create a three methods in these three tables which are nothing but a counts only. Okay, to represent that we have a three methods. So a new method I am representing, on count of department of department ID, department count I calculated as one measure, and I calculated one measure over here. Now whenever you want to create, whenever you want to create a measure table, like create an empty table, create an empty table, measure table, and you can give whatever the name you want to give, some value. You create a table, create a table with one column. You can hide that column. You can hide that column. I hidden that column. If you want to see view hidden, I just hidden unhide it. Whenever I unhide it, the complete table was unhidden. So I just want to hide that column only. That column only. So then after, whatever the measures that you created, that you need to move it into the another table. Into another table called whatever the measures that we created. How you can move? Yes, as part of a modeling, you have an option called home table, right? So this measure is in which table? Department table. I want to move it in a measure table. Now that measure was moved here. Like that, whatever the measures that you created as part of your model, those you can move it into a measures table. These are moved. Now, if you see here, if you see here, there is a separate icon is coming. There is a separate icon coming. That is what represents, boss, this table contains only measures. Only measures. So that, like whenever you have, like whenever you have a multiple like measures from a different tables, you can organize like this as a separate measure tables. So that a table it might contain 30 columns. It might contain some others also. So at that time, for a business users or developers or users, instead of navigating and searching each and everything, they can identify on this specific table. All the methods are available here. All the dimensions are available here. If you see in a multi-dimensional SSAS, like you are going to load a data source view, then after dimension and effects, even though you create a dimension, there is again dimension group will be there. Okay, even though you create a fact, separate fact measure group will be there. So here also, if you want to organize your measures in a better way, there are two options are there. One is bring all the measures of a complete model in a single table. That is one blind shot. The second one is a more mature way that, so let's assume you have a 30 tables or 25 tables are there. At that time, out of the 25 tables, 5 tables or 4 tables you have a measures. Like what you can do is, instead of bringing everything together, create a 4 separate measure tables so that they can understand. Boss, like this fact table, the measures are available here. Like that they can understand. So this is how you can create a measure table which contains the measures, which where you can group measures into a single table like this way. Whatever that Power BI models that you download from a net, whatever the examples that you might observe from anyone or a tabular cubes, you will see these kind of things. Or even if you get a job, like are you like once you start a project, so as part of your project you will see these kind of things as part of your Power BI report. At that time, don't get scared. This is nothing but a normal table. This is nothing but a normal table where all the measures are moved into a single place. Or here they are going to create a measures. You can create a measure anywhere. That is what the concept of a measure table. So here you can give any name, but whenever you see this icon, this is a table which represents a set of measures which you already defined or which you defined here. Any questions on it? That is only the measure table. Anyone has any questions?
Explain with one sample.
Satish, speak loud.
Explain with one sample measure.
We created two measures, right?
Yeah.
So then, sample measure means like based on our requirement, we are going to create a measures. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So here in our sales data table, every day what we are going to do, we are simply blindly dragging the amount paid, actual column, pending amount, profit, right?
Mm.
So we never created a measures on top of it. But whenever you in your live environment, you need to create a measures there. Okay. So every day I'm showcasing all the examples from the last 40 days by simply dragging the amount paid and actual cost pending amount. In a live environment, you don't use columns like this. You need to create a measures. So whenever you are creating a measures, you are going to hide your columns or you are going to create a new measure by mentioning it as sum of the profit. Okay, so we'll create a measure for now as the profit is already there. I'm mentioning that m underscore measure. You are going to create a measure, and at the same time, after creation, if it is a direct query, you will have this option. But as it is not a direct query, so once you create it, then after you can change this one to whatever the table that you want. Okay, so now that was moved into the measure table. One second, I think it was moved into table one. So fine, let me bring it back to measure table, so that KPI came to measure table. So here there is no separate sample example. So you need to understand how to create that measure table. and how to move a measure from one table to another table. That's it. Clear, Satish?
Yeah, okay.
Clear? Okay. The live measures creation I will showcase you in the evening. Okay, like today I will meet you in the institute. I will showcase you. Like I already created a dashboard, complete night one dashboard. I will clearly showcase what is the use, how you can define and everything. You will understand. That is exclusively for institute people.
Sure, thank you.
And anyone has any other questions? Why everyone rejoining? Fine. So Srinivas, Ashankar, Jahanavi, Krishna, Brahma. Any questions? Fine, cool. So that is what the measure table creation. As I said, it's a very important thing. And the second one is this is a measure table. And the second one is we like here based on the measures that you created, based on the measures that you created, we are all the measures you are adding here and you are creating a table. Sometimes, sometimes you need to represent dimensions, custom dimensions. So custom dimension like as part of your model, as part of your model, you are going to calculate YTD, MTD, like YTD, MTD, QTD. You are going to calculate. These are the three different measures. But the requirement how it will be is like they want to represent a table which represents MTD equal to this value, YTD equal to this value, or QTD equal to this value. They want. So you have a three measures are there: MTD, YTD, and and QTD. Whenever you have a three different measures, if you use it, those will become as part of the three different columns, right? Like anyways, consider whatever the measures that you have over here. You here also have a three measures are there. Use the table. Select the three measures. Select the three measures. It might be whatever the value. So whenever you select those three measures, what they require is they want department count, measure, and M measure in a three different rows, and they read a value. So table will not work out. And a column like matrix. How you can represent that one? How you can represent that one? All these are the measures you cannot represent. First of all, understood my requirement? You have a three methods are there, which you can call it as MTD, QTD, YTD. You based on your model, you created those three things. Then after, then after, you will get a common requirement in such a way that MTD, YTD, QTD, you need to represent the values like this. That is what the requirement. Whenever you are representing that kind of requirement, you need to work with custom dimensions. Custom dimensions. So custom dimensions, you need to work on it like on a fly or as part of a model. You are going to define your own dimension. Or sometimes people will give you a different requirements in such a way that different KPIs you need to represent like a table. At the time, you are going to construct a custom dimension. Now, Ignore everything. First, confirm me one thing so that I will continue further. You people understood my requirement? Brahma, Kalpana, Krishna, Satish, Shankar,
Yes.
Srinivas, and Jahanam. Okay? Okay, fine. So, as you are able to understand the requirement, I am continuing further. So, whenever you have this kind of requirement, and you know that based on the methods whatever mtd qtd ytd are here that let me rename it as pqr. Okay, so ignore whatever the values that you have. So you have a three methods are there, their names are p, q, and r. You have three methods are there, those three methods need to be represented in a table. So whenever you have this kind of requirement, what you need to do is you need to create a new table, which is nothing but a dimension table. New table, and so here I'm mentioning the p, q, r. I'm clicking on load. You create a dimension here which is going to represent a PQR. Now I'm creating a one measure, a new measure I'm creating. So here if if the minimum of dim dimension value, whatever the value that it is, if it is if it is a p, if it is a p, I want to represent a measure which is nothing but which is available as a p. If it is a q, we need to represent a q. If it is r, I want to represent, if it is r, I will represent a measure called r. So we are going to write a switch case. We are going to write a, we are going to represent a switch case. Like here I just written a if switch. The expression is minimum of whatever the column that we dimension that we created. There we are taking the minimum value. If it is a p, the value is p, I will represent a measure p. If the value is q, I will represent a value q. If it is a r, I want to represent r value. Perfect. So based on the measures that you created, I am creating a new measure. It is going to return based on the value row level in the row context. Whatever the value that you have, based on that it is going to generate a value. I am creating here. Okay. So a new measure got created. Now just create a table and verify dim dimension PQR and the values. Fortunately, you have it. Fortunately, whatever the requirement that you have, whatever the requirement that you have, that you are able to see PQR values, which is nothing but a 3, 1.82, 7130. You are able to get as part of a PQR. Three measures are represented as three things. The same thing for MTD, QTD, YTD. So instead of providing a PQR as part of your dimension, you are going to provide as MTD, QTD, YTD, and you are going to write. You are going to create a one measure on top of your previous measure, that minimum value you are taking of this dimension. Minimum value is nothing but the individual value, single value you are considering. That value is a p. Whatever the p value is there, that I want to represent. If the value is a q, I want to represent a q value. If the value is r, I want to represent r value. So This is how you can accomplish this requirement. This is how you can create a custom dimension. Sometimes, based on some data, that min and max will not work for that string values. Okay, I feel it's a tabular model limitation, I think. Okay, so whenever we are working with a tabular model, at that time it is not going to work with the string values with a minimum functionality. That I will showcase today evening. I think we have a class. Okay, so if in the next class, whenever we are connecting, we are going to work on a tabular model and security concepts. At that time, I will showcase you switch case with a minimum function and a string column. It will not work. So at that context, if you face that context, as I said, that's why I said it's a fortunately you got it. So sometimes the min or max functions will not work on a string columns. Verify it if you want. Or this consideration, or this time it might work as it is a single character thing. I'm not sure on that one. If it is a multiple characters, it might or it might not work. Whatever. So if it not work, I will showcase why it will not work or where it is not going to work in next session. If it not work, what we used to do is here we are going to define as part of your dimension table creation. Instead of one column, we are going to define two columns. One is ID, the second one is the name. So ID and name we are going to select, and then after we are going to take a minimum of ID like 1, 2, 3. If it is a ID equal to 1, then P. If ID equal to 2, 2 internally we defined as a Q. That for Q we are going to specify Q value. ID equal to 3, the third value we are going to represent. So that is how we are going to define a custom dimension and going to represent a values. So this is how you can accomplish that requirement. Clear or any questions? Able to understand Krishna? Satish, Kalpana, Srinivas, Jahnavi.
Is this the same last time you have given some requirement, right? The kind of same requirement or different one?
Um, that is different one, frankly telling you. So like you are referring that date dimension, right?
Yes, exactly.
No, like it's a different requirement.
See,
That is
whenever
also we
you
are
mentioned like
going
YTD,
to.
MTD, so I was referring that itself.
Mhm.
So I was expecting you are going to tell that itself.
You didn't understand this requirement first?
No, you mentioned like a custom dimensions. See, whenever the requirement
There
comes
are
multiple times, the same requirement comes, like the same YTD, MTD, if you want to use multiple times means, the requirement which we used to ask, that is also same.
no, that is similar. Okay, so I can say that that and these are same also.
Mm.
Okay, but frankly, like that is different, and like that one keep it aside. First, you understood the question of this requirement or not?
That's what Srinath, requirement is same, but the implementation is different. As you
Okay,
mentioned,
fine.
whatever I implemented, that I understood. But you are
Okay, fine.
referring, I was expecting that implementation.
If you are expecting that one, that will cover. Okay, no problem. Okay. So, others, anyone has any questions on it? Okay, fine. So, one second. What about Kalpana? Okay, fine. So, that is how you can define a custom dimension and a measure table in a DAX and variables, operators. error handling we discussed, and all the DAX functions we already covered across the last 3 days of time. And I downloaded all the videos. I will confirm you once the drive is updated. And as part of DAX, as I showcased one example that was not work today. We'll see that one again. And whatever Krishna referring, like I showcased to you people, right? Like on the I opened the Bitcoin site and I opened like the bar chart is representing you are having a different set of like items like last 1 day, last 24 hours, last 7 days, last 3 months, last 6 months, last 1 year. We have a different feel like categories are there as part of the dimension. So how we can accomplish that one, and the error handling whatever I showcase, those two things will be covered in the next session. Once we complete that one, we'll continue further with the security implementation with respect to Visual Studio and data tools. I'm not sure whether I'm going to start that one as part of an evening session, but the remaining things, first priority things, the error handling and whatever Krishna asked, those two things will be covered first. Then after we'll start a security, and we'll continue with the security today, and tomorrow morning we'll close the security. Tomorrow morning I think I provide a session as a second session. But anyways, we'll have that discussion as part of WhatsApp. That's it for now. We'll continue in the next session, and I will update the drive and I will confirm you people. And Satish, Deepthi, or whoever, Deepthi not joined. So we'll give a ping later. We'll connect in institute. Bye now for now. If you don't have any questions, you can drop.
Hello?
Yes.
The timings of the sessions, actually I'm waiting for evening time or the morning time. Actually, I'm
No,
asking.
1 second. Let me stop the recording.